let me just say a few words. This year's JCBC is a significant one, as it is our 20th edition. Singapore and China share a long-standing, multifaceted, and mutually beneficial partnership. And I'm pleased to note that we have had fruitful and substantive discussion this afternoon. We announced 25 MOUs and agreements across a wide range of areas, such as trade, finance, sustainability, the digital economy, education, and public health. These discussions reflect the progress that Singapore and China have made across the past 20 years and our commitment to an all-round high-quality, future-oriented partnership, both in traditional sectors as well as emerging areas of growth, such as the digital economy and sustainability. This will drive growth and development for both our economies and improve our resilience for the benefit of our businesses and our people. I want to take this opportunity to thank Vice Premier Ding and his delegation for the productive meetings, and I look forward to working with him as we continue to enhance Singapore-China cooperation. Let me say a few words in Mandarin. 新加坡和中国有着长久且多元化的双边关系，我们在双边关系中互惠互利，并维持高度的互信。今年 JCBC 迎来了成立20周年的重要里程碑，也是我首次接任 JCBC 联合主席。我很欣慰，我们今天的讨论富有成果。我们宣布了各种领域的25个合作项目，包括贸易、金融、可持续发展、数码经济、教育与卫生。这将推动我们两国的经济发展，让我们的企业与人民能够从中受惠。这成果也反映了新加坡与中国在过去20年来在 JCBC 底下所取得的进展，以及我们对于落实全方位高质量的前瞻性伙伴关系的决心。在此，我感谢丁薛祥副总理和他的代表团，能够让我们在今年的会议里取得丰硕的成果。我也期待继续和他合作，加强我们两国之间的关系。谢谢。Now I open up for questions.
所以副总理能不能谈一谈说这次你跟中国官员的这个互动，然后怎么建立这个互信，还有这个信任？同时，2025年你们有一些什么样的一些新的重点的一些项目会要推进的
？First, let me maybe respond in English. I think this JCBC is an important milestone that it's our 20th anniversary. It's also an opportune time for us to look back, to review the progress that we have made over the last 20 years, and we also look at how we can further deepen our existing cooperation, such as the 3 government-to-government projects, as well as China-Singapore FTA. I think we have made a commitment that we will bring it into force by the end of this year. At the same time, we have also taken this opportunity to explore new areas for cooperation, particularly given the new challenges and new opportunities that are emerging, including green economy, digital economy, as well as supply chain resilience. So I think one particular important landmark that we are marking is the 30th anniversary of Singapore Suzhou Industrial Park. Maybe I can ask Chun Sing to have a very quick update on the SIP.
For the Suzhou Industrial Park, while we celebrate the 30th anniversary, we are also looking forward. So if I may say that there are things that will change and there are some things that will not change. Let me start with the things that we will see going forward that will continue to evolve. So Suzhou Industrial Park has gone from a conventional industrial park to one whereby it focuses on innovation and new industries. So some of these new industries will include the green industries, the biopharma, and also the digital side. So, but beyond the industries that will be in the new Suzhou Industrial Park, I think what we have seen Suzhou evolve is also that it has become a township that takes into account some of the evolving challenges that China is tackling. For example, an aging population, the integration of people outside Suzhou coming together to work as a composite and integrated team within Suzhou. So I think these are areas that we will continue to seek to work on and to find and break new grounds. And there are also opportunities for us to work with Suzhou to also go to third countries to explore other opportunities. So these are the things that will evolve, but there are also things that won't change. The essence of Suzhou when it first started was that it was a symbol for China's confidence and commitment to connect with the rest of the world. It was a different geopolitical environment at that point in time. And today, there are also new and emerging challenges that require us to partner China with the same confidence and commitment to remain connected with the world. So I think the symbolism of what Suzhou brings to the bilateral relationship will not change, and if anything, it will become even more important.
Thank you. Maybe let me say a few words in Mandarin. 今年是我们中信两国 JCBC 的20周年纪念。那么同时，我们借着这个机会呢，一方面回顾过去我们所取得的进展，另一方面呢，我们也探讨如何加深我们目前所有的合作项目，比如说苏州工业园区刚才谈到的。那么除此之外呢，我们也借着这个机会展望未来我们所要开拓的新的合作领域，包括绿色经济、数码经济和供应链的整个韧性等等，这几方面我们相信都有许多的开拓的这个空间。那么我们也探讨到如何加强我们生物化学之间的这个合作，这些都是我们能够开拓的这个新的领域。
Thank you, Chen Jing from Zaobao. I would like to follow up on Chen Hui's question to let DPM elaborate on what are the key priorities we'll focus on the bilateral cooperation next year. What are your key priorities and how will it benefit our industry as well as our people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think for our companies and businesses, I think they will continue to be keen to explore opportunities in Suzhou Industrial Park, and there are new development projects that are coming on stream, including biomedical science projects and digital economy, and as well as green economy, sustainability and supply chain related projects. And our collaboration with Chongqing in the connectivity initiative is also an area that is we discussed the opportunity and the potential for further growth, particularly in the form of connectivity to the Southeast Asia from China. Chongqing is becoming an important node of this connectivity. And in this regard, maybe I can ask Minister Cheong Tat to elaborate on the connectivity between China and Singapore, particularly relating to CCI as well as other areas of connectivity.
Thank you, DPM. I think I'm very happy that we have grown our connectivity between Singapore and China over the years. There are many different projects that we've been working on. The two that we have pushed in more recent times, one is with Tianjin, the Green and Digital Shipping Corridor, and then more recently with Shandong. And we are now working towards a national level Green and Digital Shipping Corridor to allow the maritime collaboration between Singapore and China to further strengthen and to look at new areas, including in sustainability, decarbonization of our supply chains. And as DPM mentioned earlier, I think the resilience of our supply chains, especially in the current global environment, will become increasingly important. We have a lot of trade links, and there are a lot of movements of goods between Singapore and China, and not just between Singapore and China, but actually also through Singapore to, for example, in ASEAN, the other countries. So I think this collaboration will also allow us to further strengthen Singapore's position as a hub in Southeast Asia and create more opportunities for us to work together with our Chinese counterparts and Chinese companies looking at expanding their presence outside of China to Southeast Asia. I'm also delighted earlier to hear from Vice Premier Ting that we are going to look at ways to further increase our flight connectivity between Singapore and China to support more people-to-people flows. Last year, Vice Premier Ting and then DPM Lawrence Wong set a target for us to say, let's restore air connectivity, not just back to pre-COVID levels, but to surpass. So I'm happy that we have achieved that target. Now let's look at how we can go further and promote more linkages between Singapore and China. On the MAS side, I think we are also looking at how we can enhance our connectivity on the financial markets. I think we launched a slate of initiatives at this JCBC, and I think it creates a good momentum and builds a strong platform for us to take our collaborations in capital markets and bond markets one step further. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I may add, beyond the economic and commercial projects, I think we're also trying to step up our exchanges on the personnel side and also the leadership forum. I think both countries understand that our societal challenges, our governance challenges continues to evolve in the new global environment and also the domestic demands. So there are many opportunities for us to share information on how we can improve the governance and the capabilities of government between the two sides. So we look forward to both the Leadership Forum and also the Social Governance Forum as platforms for us to improve our capacity to govern in the new global environment. So that's one. The other one is that we are also planting the seeds to allow the next generation to continue to enjoy the same level of trust, if not a deeper level of trust, to do projects together in the future. And this will start with the education side, whereby we look forward to more exchanges from the school level, from primary school, secondary school, all the way through the universities. We have programs to link up our university, 6 of our autonomous university to link up with 6 other partners on the Chinese side, not just to do research, but also to look at some of the shared challenges that we may have, for example, from healthcare to aging. At the same time, we also want to step up our professional exchanges between the education workforce on both sides, the teachers and the principals, on how we can incorporate the new education technology with the new pedagogies.
So our collaboration is really multifaceted, not just economics, but also connectivity, people-to-people exchange, tourism, as well as public health and food security. And on this, maybe I ask Koh Poo Koon to talk about our collaboration on the food safety side.
Thank you, DPM. Well, last year, JCBC, we added a new pillar of cooperation, which is in the area of food security, resilience in our supply chains for food. A part of the motivation is because actually China is our second largest source of fresh fruits and vegetables and the 4th largest source of actually seafood. And in strengthening that, we want to also harmonize a lot of understanding of our standards for inspections, the quarantine and phytosanitary measures. So as part of the collaboration, both at the political level and at the officials level, we've deepened our interactions. And actually, we're now forming a joint working group to try and actually harmonize some of the processes so that we can actually collaborate deeper in areas of things like gene editing, things of understanding about genomics of, say, vegetables, seeds, and fish stocks as well. So that from our own industry development, we can actually also move upstream to make sure that we have good fish eggs and fish fry for our farmers. And one of the other pillars of cooperation is to also help us to increase our export potential. So with this MOU, we are now able to export 6 different fish types farmed in Singapore into the Chinese market. Some of the details are still being worked out, but that opens up opportunity for many of our farms here to explore a larger market in China. As you know, we are working towards our 30 by 30 vision, and Singapore's domestic market is a very small one. So in order to help our farms to actually be able to scale and grow and bring down their cost of production, we need to help them find a larger market overseas. So I hope that this particular initiative would be a boost to our 30 by 30 vision and help our farms to know that if they are able to scale up more, they can serve beyond Singapore and enter a larger market.
I should also add that our bilateral relationship and the cooperation is built on basis of mutual interests and shared beliefs of cooperation and how we can benefit one another. But at the same time, we also need to take a longer term view. It's not many of the initiatives that we discussed and we agreed on today will take time to implement and for the benefits to be realized. Connectivity is one example. We'll continue to build and strengthen the connectivity between Singapore and China, and to encourage China businesses to use Singapore as a gateway to the Southeast Asian market, ASEAN market. So I think these require many years of hard work and continue hard work to be able to bear fruit. And on that basis, I think we need to take a longer term view. It's not about what we can do today, tomorrow, but how can we develop and establish and strengthen a long-term partnership between Singapore and China.
Su Hui from CNA. So I think you mentioned a lot about new areas of growth, and then we talked about the free trade agreement, the upgraded free trade agreement. With Mr. Trump at the helm again, and you also talk about amid a more complex global backdrop, how does Singapore plan to navigate its trade strategy with China, especially with Mr. Trump threatening tariffs on imported foreign goods and more for Chinese goods? So were these latest developments discussed during the talks with Vice Premier Ding and with the other Chinese leaders?
Thank you. I think we discussed very broadly the challenges of the evolving global landscape. The relationship between China and the US has always been one of the most consequential relationship with the new administration coming into place at the White House. I think many things are is evolving. So we need to continue to watch the development before we come to any specific conclusion. But I would say that the outlook, the operating environment going forward is likely to be continue to be very challenging and continue to have significant uncertainties. And from Singapore's point of view, being a small and open economy, we want to look forward to a more stable and secured relationship and a constructive relationship between China and the US. I think this will benefit Singapore as an open and a small economy. And therefore, we will encourage US and China to continue to have dialogue, to continue to find ways to work together even as they compete with one another. And for Singapore businesses and ourselves, we need to continue to be nimble, to be flexible, to be prepared to adjust our strategy even as the global environment evolves. This is the same between our relationship between Singapore and China. As I emphasized earlier, the partnership between China and Singapore is a long-term one, and we have built this partnership over the last 30 years or more. And next year we are celebrating our 35th year of anniversary of diplomatic relationship, and it is something that we have built over the years, and we will continue to strengthen the partnership between China and Singapore, and we will continue to watch the development and to identify opportunities for our businesses as we navigate this uncertain and choppy waters ahead of us.
Thank you. Tian from Straits Times. I would like to circle back to the first question about how, in the course of your interactions with the Chinese leaders today, whether the meetings, the interactions have contributed to the building of trust and understanding between both sides. And this is the first JCBC since Mr. Lawrence Wong took the helm as the fourth generation Prime Minister. Would DPM or any of the other ministers care to talk about whether you think the engagement at this year's JCBC signifies continuity or a new dynamic? Thank you.
Maybe I'll say a few words, maybe the other ministers can chip in. I think, as I mentioned, with every new generation of leaders, you will need to refresh the relationship. You need to continue to strengthen the mutual understanding so that you can build trust and confidence with one another. But fortunately, Prime Minister Lawrence Wong is not new to China. He was the chair of JCBC last year, and he visited China. And Vice Premier Ding Xuexiang was the co-chair at that time, so they had the opportunity to meet one another, to better understand each other. And this time, when Vice Premier was here, he also met up with PM, and during that discussion, they refreshed their relationship and friendship. I think this is something that is very important. And while the Vice Premier is here, he also visited several of our leaders. So I think this provides an opportunity for them to further strengthen the relationship between the two. But it will not stop here because I think going forward we will have to continue to build this relationship between the new generation of leaders of two countries. And not just at the ministers and political leaders level, it is also important to provide opportunity for interaction at different levels of the government, senior officials as well as working level. So I think the JCBC and the various projects that we are involved in will provide this opportunity for the leaders from both sides at the political as well as the public service level to interact with one another. But over and above that, it's also important for businessmen, for businesses to continue to engage with one another. Singapore businesses have been operating in China for a long time, and we've been there in the early days, and they remain there for over the last few decades. And I think the relationship that they have been built up over these few decades is very important going forward, and I will encourage them to continue to do that. At the same time, we also want to encourage people-to-people interaction. I think Minister Chan mentioned about the Public Leadership Forum to encourage leadership at a people-to-people level. We also, there are many Singaporeans who go to China for holidays, and a lot of Chinese tourists come to Singapore too. And this people-to-people exchange will also enhance the understanding and appreciation of each other's culture. I think this way we can continue to strengthen the partnership between the two countries.
Well, I will say three things in response to Lun Tian's question. First, I think the Singapore and China's relationship, we take a long-term perspective, as DPM Gan say. We look beyond the short-term perturbations, but underlying that is a deep sense of trust and respect for one another. A deep sense of trust that the Chinese know that we wish them well. From the early days when we established our bilateral relationship to the time where we established Suzhou Industrial Park in a very challenging geopolitical environment. And over all these years, we have consistently partnered China in its development, and I think that can be seen through our actions and not just words. So this is the deep sense of trust that we have with one another. And over the years, I think generations of Singaporeans officials, both at the political level, government level, and the people-to-people level, have continued to build on this. Which comes to my second point, is that notwithstanding us having dealt with China consistently over all these years, we are also not complacent. We constantly are on the lookout to better understand the latest challenges that China are grappling with, the latest opportunities. And in China, we want to eschew a binary interpretation where all things are good or all things are bad. China is a very big country. Even in the most challenging times, there will be opportunities. Even in the best of times, there will be challenges. And in different parts of China, we need a nuanced understanding of both the challenges and the opportunities so that we can constantly create new value propositions in our partnership with China. So just now, many of the projects that DPM Gan and my fellow colleagues have mentioned is this constant search to better appreciate both China's challenges and opportunities so that we can create new and relevant propositions for the times. When we say 与时俱进, we really mean it that we move with the times to fully and better understand China's both challenges and opportunities and constantly challenge ourselves to come up with new value propositions. So every time we meet the Chinese, whether is it here or in China, we seek to understand them deeper, and we have in-depth conversations on what are the real issues that both of us are confronting and where we can share notes on how we can overcome some of these challenges, both domestically and internationally.
我用华语来回答，好。所以我觉得呢，我们看中国要看得长远一点，像副总理说的，高瞻远瞩。好，我们不要只是关注短期的那个趋势跟挑战。那为什么呢？因为我们考虑一个国家有没有发展的潜能，一个民族有没有发展的潜能，其实要考虑到比较长期的、中期的这个发展的趋势。所以中国呢有庞大的市场，有雄厚的人才资源，还有乘风破浪的毅力。所以我相信他们能够克服短期内所面对的一些挑战。如果我们看中国的企业在交通方面，在新能源、绿色经济等，其实他们的这个创新很多都已经走在世界的前端。所以我相信呢，如果我们跟中国的合作，不只是能够让中国跟新加坡的企业跟人民能够有互惠共赢的这个机会，也能够带动区域的发展，带动其实全球的可持续的发展谢谢。
All right, that's a wrap up. Thank you very much.